ضربت كل الحافل على الأربع عنابة.
The best element that I love about this dish is when I have chunks of cauliflower that is cooked, and when you eat that cauliflower, it's like water mouth. Today I'm going to cook for you makloubi. The name means upside down. I think if you go back to Palestine at the weekends, you'll see maybe 95% of the population cook makloubi. The funny thing that everyone has his own version of cooking makloubi. I grew up eating makloubi with my mother. She basically deep fry the eggplants and she cuts it in cubes. I changed it here. I make it slices. I make it like into a cake. So when you flip the makloubi, it becomes like the eggplants layers outside of the dish, and it's just like more appealing to the eyes. And I love when the eyes eat before your stomach. Sometimes it's tricky to work with the mandarin. It's a little bit dangerous, but it's so cool. It gives like consistent slices. I use it for the salad sometimes. Ingredients that they go to the dish is carrots and cauliflower. You can cut it the shape you want or like the size you want. I like to cut it small so it doesn't take long time to cook in a shape that it will outstand. I feel like when you cook something like a salad or any type of dish, I like to have the colors like when you plate the dish, you need the colors basically to look attractive.
قولوا لأمه تفرح وتتهنى ترش الوسايد بالعطر
I grew up on a farm back home, and for me, being around that nature is who I am and what defines me. So I know some farmers in Union Square Market, and then I buy from them most of my time, but when it's available. So this is the two, besides the eggplants, and we have also, some people do it with chicken or with lamb. Today I'm going to do it with chicken. The main challenge about this dish, and like this is a challenge that I had with all the menu that I had here in Qanoon, the Palestinian dishes are made to be eaten for the whole family and all sharing it. And my challenge was how to cook something that was made for the masses, to make it more personal and like you cook it individually, not for groups of people. So makloubi is basically, if you go back home, my mother would make a huge pot of makloubi, like 2 chickens inside, for like 10-15 people, and everyone eats with it from that dish. We're here, like, what should I do? I want people to taste that dish, but I have this I cannot cook that much food. So I basically transferred all the dish to be in a small ceramican, about like 12 ounces. And then all the ingredients are in. It's so cute and beautiful. I think that was one of the major success for the dishes, to make it individual. So everyone gets his own makloubi. Sometimes if I have groups of people, they ask me to make like one big one for them to enjoy it and celebrate it. I feel culture and enjoying experiences in different ways is important all the time. So we can go now to the kitchen and like assemble things. Eggplant. You think eggplant is like, oh, it's made for one specific dish. I literally can give my mother one eggplant and she will make you maybe 5 to 7 different dishes from eggplants. So when I was a kid, I did not like a dish that's called moussaka. It's basically eggplant stew with tomatoes, and then she has like chopped a meat that is on top and it's all baked. I did not like eggplants. I really did not like it. Just a little bit the eggplant, and carrots. So when they cook in the dish, they don't take long time, because I need to time everything basically with the rice. The rice takes about 20 minutes. I use basmati rice, Indian basmati. It's the best you can get. Olive oil, just a little bit of touch. Only salt on the eggplants, because all the seasoning goes to the rice, and there's a lot of flavor comes with the meat. So it's either the chicken or the lamb. When I cook the chicken or the lamb, I I put a lot of vegetables and like a lot of spices to give them really nice flavor. The carrots I will put like some extra olive oil to be cooked with it. And I put also some salt. This is the chicken that we cooked last night. It's organic chicken that I bought yesterday. I cook it with like some onions, carrots, celery, and I usually cut it in small pieces. I think the average eater in the city, they think like Middle Eastern food is falafel and shawarma and tahini and different variations. And I try to avoid having these dishes in my menu. Because I want like dishes that's really traditional dishes that they are so healthy and yummy to eat that I want people to get introduced to. I feel like a lot of non-Palestinian customers that comes to the restaurant and eat the food here, they just fall in love with it. Like they come again and again. And through this time, I usually don't serve customers, but because of COVID, I had to maneuver things and I have to make my structure differently. So I started like serving tables, like waiting tables, clean dishes. I did not mind. I want this business to be successful. And like I strain it before the maflubi because I need to use the broth for later on. This is chicken broth that we sell in the kitchen, in the restaurant. We make bone marrow broth and chicken broth in containers in like our coffee cups. Like instead of drinking your coffee, drink your bone marrow broth or like this. And people like sometimes they come, can I get like 10 of them, like put them in this? So it's really cool. I have the rice here. The way that I do is basically I measure, like we are a lot of people. I will make 2 or 3 cups. So I use like, let's say 3 cups of basmati rice. That's one, we'll go with it. The main ingredient is this. This is like turmeric. I put like all the spices on the rice. Not too much of cumin because I feel the American palate is very sensitive to the cumin. So I don't like overpowering it. We have here 9 spices. They are mixed all together. We make it in-house. It has a lot of spices. When you put it on like meat or like stews like this, like it elevates the dish to a different level. When I do the chicken or the beef, I don't salt it. And the reason that we don't salt it because when you cook the broth, if you put salt at the beginning, you might think, oh, it's good. But remember, that water is going to evaporate. So at the end, if you're cooking it, it might be salty. So the best way is not to put salt at the beginning. The rice this way, with all the spices.
Before cooking it.
Before cooking it. So basically, you make sure that the spices are spread evenly. Scoop it out. A quick heat. I left them a little bit long. I should not leave them that long. I think we were chatting, that's why. I put the tomatoes on the bottom of the broth. So I colored them in small circles.
Tomatoes found a lot in Palestinian dishes?
So I grew up on a farm. We used to have a huge land, greenhouses, very modern greenhouses. One of the main things that we used to grow is tomatoes. Palestine, the main source of income was basically everyone has land and farming it. My lunch used to be 1 cucumber, 1 tomato. Literally that's where I grew up, like all my childhood. I come here, you eat cucumbers and tomatoes, there's no taste. You eat like plastic. Literally when you can, if I smell someone who used to work on tomato or cucumbers, I can tell the aromas, like the freshness of the vegetables. Unfortunately here, the art of assembling the dish that everyone has a different opinion on. I'm going to start with the ones that I did not cook and I put them in the bottom of the pot. This way. My goal is basically to create a type of a cake that comes toward the end. I put these like crispy ones, I put them in a way like this on the sides. As much as possible. You don't need to go around all the dish. But imagine you are making like a cake that you need to present later on, so you want it like a round shape, and like you can do it with any shape you want. I got cauliflower, tomatoes. My mother did not used to do it with tomatoes. I feel tomatoes, it gives it amazing element. By the way, you also can do it vegan or vegetarian. You don't need to have meat. You can have a vegetarian global. And then the last one is we take the chicken and we put it here, pieces of the chicken. Some people take the chicken after you cook it like this way, and they sear it, like make it crisp on the outside. I don't do this because I try to avoid cooking with oil, basically. Make it as healthy as we can.
A book that you would like to recommend, or something that you've read recently that you like?
I don't have a specific one, but like the last one that I'm reading is about food, basically. It's called Fake Food, Real Food. It tells you about like the food that we eat when you go out in the restaurant, and like you wonder, like you buy a salmon, but people don't know that the salmon has a lot of different varieties, where it is coming from. Is it wild salmon? Is it from the pool? Is it like farmed? Like all these elements that I think the average eater does not pay attention to. My friends like, oh, we went to this steakhouse, we ate Kobe beef. It's like $400 or $500 a steak. It's like very expensive Japanese steak. You read that book, it tells you basically that this type of meat is forbidden for importing to the US by the Department of Agriculture. It's like, oh my God, so they are basically selling you something that they tell you that it's coming from Japan, but it's locally grown. And like, it's fine. I'm not saying locally is less quality than importing it, but my point is, do not price it in a way that it's coming from Japan. You go to the supermarket, you buy a graded Parmesan cheese, and it says 100% graded Parmesan cheese, and then the book tells you, I don't know if the 100 is for the graded part of the statement or for the cheese. So you see how the spices go on the bottom? The way that you know how much broth you want is just to cover the top until it reaches the level of the rice and the chicken. Because again, everything is cooked but the rice. So you don't want to put too much, you don't want to, you can always add. So, and it goes variations. This is for like one person. It has lamb, it has the rice, the tomatoes, the eggplants, and the cauliflower, and the spices. If I show that to my family, they'll start laughing. Stove.
Electric stove.
It's electric for now. We are getting the gas soon. So what I do, I cook it until it starts boiling, and then you lower the temperature. It's so phenomenal when you look at the amount of variety of dishes that we have made from one element. Like, I'll tell you an example. Eggplant. You think eggplant is like, oh, it's made for one specific dish. I literally can give my mother one eggplant and she will make you maybe 5 to 7 different dishes from eggplant. My mother is my hero. I call my mother almost every day. Not almost, every day. And the day that we don't talk, she feels like she has to check on me. I don't know, we have this connection. I'm like the youngest of 9 kids, and we just like connected. I think my food skills initially came from her. Saw her in the kitchen, and like went to college, and like I always was around with food. And I'm going to make you za'atar bread. Not bread. Za'atar has many variations. There's the za'atar, which is the leaves, and there's the dukka, which is the spice. We usually use both of them. Since we are here, I'm going to make something small for us. It's like similar to crackers. You make a dip with olive oil and za'atar, and then you put it on a pita and you bake it. And then you can add any type of yogurt if you have, or like cheese, or like really things that there are. I use it in everything. It's beautiful. It's the flavors of the za'atar with the fresh olive oil that you would love to experience, and like you use it sometimes on the salad, like all that.
What is za'atar?
Za'atar is from the family of the thyme. It used to be grown on the wild, like on the mountains. That's where our hiking trips as family members, all of us, we go on the mountain, go pick up za'atar. Basically, we get back with sacks of za'atar. If you look at the thyme, it's a little bit bigger than the thyme, but it's a distinct flavor. It's not the same flavor. People think, oh, it's thyme. No, it's not thyme. It's za'atar. You take the leaves out of the stem, and you make different things with it. One of the best dishes that I love with the za'atar is you mix it with onions, sumac, and like all spices, and you make it with a flat bread, and you bake it in an oven like this, outside. Have you seen thyme, the thyme stems? The thyme, the spice, the herbs. Exactly the same, but make it in a larger form. So the leaf is, even the smell is very similar, but it's not the same. So it has a lot of political stories too. At one point, like it was banned. You cannot go and pick it from the wild. And like, you know, it's like something that you eat all the time. Someone tells you that it's banned, like you will not understand why. Like, I want to go eat it. And like later on, it was, so what people did, they started cultivating it in the houses on their lands, and like you have now farmed za'atar and like za'atar from the wild. But I feel like it has a different like smell when it's from the mountains. It's just like very strong aromas.
Wait, why would it be prohibited?
Like you will never understand it, but the reason that the government would say it's a protected herb, and I have a different version, but everyone has his own belief. So basically, they were fearing that this plant will not continue to exist on that area.
So it's like gold.
Kind of, yeah. Until it become a very dominant ingredients or elements in kitchens and back home, like as Palestinians.
يا واحنا اولاد العرب ما نركب الا الخيل.
Taste the broth, see if it needs more salt. It's actually, I think it's too salty.
What are you doing now?
I'm just like reducing the amount of salt. I think the salt that was on the broth with the salt that I added, it makes it a little bit. So I reduced it and then I add that's it. And then you can cover it. Lebanese that I made with some herbs and some garlic that I'm going to put for you on that za'atar cracker. So if you go now, this is the season of the olive oil. If you go back home, everyone has his own olive tree. Not everyone, but many people, at least back in the days, I would say everyone. And everyone will go, the family, like my best memories is all the family goes to harvest the olive trees. Pick the olives and pickle them or press them for olive oil, and this is the time that everyone competing. Oh, my olive oil is better than your olive oil, and it's like more aromas and like all this, and like it's like a market, you know. So at this time of the year, everyone does مسخن. Sakhan is a specific dish that is homemade bread, flat bread, chicken, a lot of onions, and sumac. These are the elements of the dish. And literally everything is dipped on that olive oil. And that's why they make it at this time. So when you eat the dish, it's so delicious and it's so good. The issue with it, it's you have to sleep for like 2 days after that. It's really heavy. When I did the dish here, I left the dipping of the olive oil inside, all elements inside the olive oil aside. Like I don't dip them, but I did 2 drizzle them with really fresh olive oil, which I think is phenomenal. I think people here love the dish. The chicken is not. You know, when you go to a restaurant, like, oh, I don't want to eat chicken because I can make it at home. And I will tell customers, no, you can't. Not because it's genius, just because it takes time. It's like marinated in marination for like overnight, and then it dried for like 1 more day, and then it's cooked. So it's about like 2 days prepping the chicken. I don't think you'll do it at home, unless you have nothing to do. This is something that you can eat all the time. Like, do it like this with some cheese, a cup of mint tea. That's like a heaven. When I have people in my house, I surprise them with this without telling them this. And like I cannot tell you how many people say, what is that? This is like the best thing. Lebanese, if you like. And I'll leave some without, so you taste both. This is Lebanese is strained yogurt that goes with spices, mint, also I put some garlic. This is some radishes from the farmer's market. And this is just for us to try. It's not a dish that I have on the menu. What I do is like I try to shake it like that. As you remember, we also put like kind of oil on the around the pot. But still, sometimes it gets sticky if the water dried too much. So you take it, and then with this tool, this is the microwave. The way that I see that it's moving, so it's easy to flip it. The way that I do, I put it like this way. Basically, you really need to have it strong like that. Like someone who has strong muscles in the family needs to flip it like this. And then I do. Like that. I felt it already, it's not sticky at all, but if you feel it's sticky, you can do that, like tap it on the side. It doesn't.
Oh my god. Oh my god, it smells phenomenal.
The way that we serve it, you just take a piece of meat and as much as you want from the rice side. Like there's no specific way of serving it. In my restaurant, it comes as a small cake, like round shape. It's like it's like an artist built it for you, and then we tap it with like yogurt sauce on top, which I feel the yogurt is nice because the dish is full of spices, and the yogurt tones it a little bit down in your mouth, so it's
more refreshing.
Yes, so if you are overwhelmed with the spices, a little bit of the yogurt tones it down, and then it will be a perfect fit. Like they are dancing together in your mouth, and then you are just like keep eating it. Like I said, like for me, eating food is not only feeding the body; it's feeding the soul. It's a dish that I can eat all the time. This type of dish, I make like a big quantity. I put it in the fridge. I literally can snack on it like lunch and dinner all the time.
This reminds me of home.
Oh really? Mm-hmm. I like the fact when you basically do the chicken with a fork. You don't need a knife. Mm-hmm. After I worked for like corporate for maybe 10 years, I said I want to be on my own, and the first thing that came to my mind was restaurants. It's just because of the fact that I grew up on a farm working with them on the land, and also my skills in the kitchen. Like I always really was a good cook, and then later on I went to culinary school just to tune my skills and be connected and like all that. So it's like sometimes you do experiences in life that you are not necessarily knowing the value of them until later on. Like so when I was cooking with her, did you think I would have a restaurant in New York City? No, absolutely not. I was like coming from a different career-wise. I'm like an accountant or like business, and I ended up having kitchen and like food because this is who I am. This is my passion. Feeding people good food. This is where I I find my satisfaction, you know, in what you do, and I feel this is something that's naturally good, because this is what I think everyone should have, something that they love and care about, and where they feel are empowered, you know, like someone comes here. And for me, it's not like having customer and eat, because you can go eat anywhere you want, you can buy food and you don't have the human connection. But when you have the life experience and episodes in your life and like stories behind the dishes, when I tell people about the msakhan and the olive oil and the harvest, this is what makes it unique, you know. And like I love to talk about this because this is cultural, and you see how culture is integrated with a lot of episodes about it.
يا ريت مباراتي عاكل الحمولي عاكل الحمولي ويتبجري بالصبي والهموم تزولي والهموم تزولي يا ريت مباراتي علينا